Hello everyone and welcome to the Mylio Photos coffee break. My name is Angela Andrew and I'm a product evangelist for Mylio. My job is to help you be successful with the software. Today we're going to have a short tutorial and we're going to talk about some of the essential cleanup tools in Mylio Photos. You might have experienced some of these before, but we're going to do a quick walkthrough and give you just an overview of what these tools are capable of so you can go in and clean up some stuff in your own library. Before we jump into the presentation, I do want to let you know that we have a lot of ongoing events for you. My counterpart, Lori Rubin, she holds weekly live sessions Monday through Friday at both 9:30 a.m. Pacific and 3 p.m. Pacific. In the morning, she covers importing and organizing, setting up new devices, sharing and printing, and search, find, and filter. In the afternoon, you can jump into her sessions for Ready, Set, Go. And this is a program tailored especially for new users, or maybe you stepped away, you just need a refresher on Mylio. Check out mylio.com/ready-set-go. If you can't attend those live sessions, there are also recordings so you can go through the course self-paced, and it's just a great way to get acquainted with the software. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I hold a live Q&A, kind of an Ask Me Anything event at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, and you're always welcome to jump into those, whether you are brand new to Mylio or you've been with us for a really long time. The questions really do spread a very wide gamut. So if you do come, be prepared. Some people might ask really advanced stuff, and some people might just be learning the basics, and everyone is absolutely welcome. On Fridays, we have these coffee breaks where we cover a short tutorial followed by some open Q&A, and your questions don't have to be on the topic of the day. Again, you can just kind of ask me anything. I forgot to update this slide with next week's topic. Lori, if you have a second, can you take a look? It looks like, let's see here. She probably put it into the chat here, finding your favorite moments to rediscover memories with Mylio Photos. So perfect. That is going to be our coffee break for next week. And I hope you guys can join us for that. So let's go ahead and jump into today's presentation. And we're going to go over from clutter to order and Mylio Photos cleanup essentials. So there's several different tools inside of Mylio Photos that can help you wrangle and get things tidy. And what we're going to do today is cover three of what I think are kind of the most important. The first one is finding similar photos with Photo DeClutter, finding and deleting exact duplicates with Photo DeDupe, and then how to sort and clean up images with the Cleanup Quick Collections. And these are kind of a hidden gem that most people don't realize is there. You've probably had some exposure to at least Photo DeDupe and Declutter, but the Cleanup Quick Collections are a little bit hidden. If you don't know where to look for them, you might not ever find them. So I want to show you where those are and how they can be useful. So actually today I want to go ahead and start with Photo DeDupe. And this is the process of finding the exact duplicates in your library. So what that matches is things that have the exact same size and resolution. They can be the same name but in different folders. They can have different names. They can have different metadata. There's a tool in there called AutoMark that goes ahead and will go through those images and help you pick the ones that you should probably get rid of. Now you have full control over what you choose, but Mylio makes it really simple to go ahead and get that first pass, and then you can review those results, and when you're ready, you can either move them outside of your Mylio Photos library, which is an option, or you can permanently delete them. So if you're going through this process, most likely you're going to want to go ahead and delete those, but if you're not quite ready to commit, you can move them out of your library and deal with them later. Another really cool feature of this tool is that if you have two images, one has metadata, one does not, or one has some pieces of metadata and the other one has other information, when you go ahead and choose one to delete or move, Mylio will merge that metadata into the one you're keeping, so you don't lose any of that important information. Let's go ahead and jump into Mylio really quick, and we're going to do a quick overview of using Photo DeDupe. So we are here in my library, and I'm going to go ahead and go down to the tools here on the right, and we're going to choose Photo DeDupe. I'm going to go ahead and clear out the filters I had before, and right now this is looking at my entire library. In most cases, I don't recommend doing your entire library at once. That can be kind of overwhelming. So right now we're looking at over 3,000 files that are possible duplicates in my library. I want to go ahead and limit that down to a more manageable number and kind of work these in small batches. And that's going to be the easiest way to go through this. So I have a folder I've already picked out that I want to work on. I'm going to go down here by folder, and I'm going to choose Instagram. And the reason I'm choosing this is I know that there are duplicates from the images that are in this folder. because I went to Instagram and I did a download here in Mylio to bring in my photos. And for a long time, I also had Instagram automatically publishing those same images to Flickr. I then later on here from inside of Mylio went and pulled down my images from Flickr. And so I have a folder for each of those here on my computer, and there is definitely some overlap, as you can see. So what we're looking at right now is focused in on that Instagram folder, but I have it comparing to my entire library. So once you go ahead and limit what you're looking at, you can say, do you want to look at just these results? So let's say only find duplicates that live inside of that folder, so you have the two images in the same folder, or compare it to your entire library. I find this entire library to be the much more useful choice. And then what we're going to do is go down here to auto mark, and we're going to go ahead and choose the images that we're going to tell Mylio what to keep and what to get rid of. Now you can go ahead and drag and drop any of these options into a different order, and that's based on what you find to be the most important here. In most cases, I find the defaults to be perfect, so I'm going to say restore defaults. And then there's another parameter here that you can choose. I mentioned that I know that I have a lot of duplicates in a certain folder, and I know which ones I want to keep. I want to keep the ones that are in the Instagram folder, and I want to get rid of the ones that are in the Flickr folder that are exactly the same. So then we can say add a folder duplicates may be in. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and I'm going to go here and just choose Flickr, and I'm going to select that. Then you have the option to say I want to keep those or I want to remove them. Those are the ones that I want to get rid of. And this tells Mylio to prioritize keeping the ones that are in the Instagram folder. So that's just another option that you can use. It's not required, but it is very, very helpful. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and run auto mark, and Mylio goes through and marks the images that it says that I should get rid of. And we can go ahead and scroll through these, and I do recommend you do that because there's still 105 sets and 210 photos here, and take a look at what's happening. So when we compare a set of images here, we've got the folder that it is coming from. You can see here on both of these images, and it says conflicting data. That means that there's some information in one of these files here in the metadata that is not located here in the one that I've marked to keep. So everything in yellow is being copied over from the one I'm getting rid of into the one I'm keeping. That is absolutely awesome. So we can go ahead and just scroll down this list here and take a look and make sure these all make sense. And I love that it's already prioritizing picking the Flickr ones to get rid of and keeping the ones that I downloaded from Instagram. So we can go ahead and just scroll through, make sure that these are all accurate, make sure it's choosing the ones you want, and you can just review that it's, keeping the appropriate metadata as well. All right, so scrolling through these, this did a really good job. I'm pretty happy with the results. And you can go ahead and just grab the sidebar here and scroll down much, much faster. And you know what? I'm confident that this tool works really well, so I'm not going to sit here and go into these too in depth. But if this is your first time going through this and you want to just kind of make sure these are actually duplicates, you can click onto an image and you'll see here you've got that pair listed here at the bottom. And you can click between them and see, is there any difference? The things you're going to want to look for here are going to be making sure they're the same file size, making sure they're the same file type. All those kinds of things make a difference. So Mylio automatically checks those, but as a user, I like to sometimes double check and make sure that the technology is agreeing with what I want. So those are some of the things you might want to check. And we're going to go ahead and clear out that filter. Go here by folder. We're going to choose that Instagram folder, and I'm going to go ahead and take that out of there. And we'll go ahead and run auto mark. We've got our Flickr folder here still selected, so run auto mark. And once you've gone through and you're sure that these are the ones that you want to get rid of, go ahead and you can choose delete marked or move marked. Now, if this is your first time running through this and you're not sure you want to actually permanently delete things, you can go ahead and move these, and this will move them to a folder outside of your Mylio Photos library. Basically, you're just kind of kicking the can down the road and making it so you deal with those files later. If you want to do that, that is cool. Personally, if I'm going through the process of deduplicating, I want to just get rid of them. So I'm going to go ahead and say delete marked. And what this pops up with it is it tells you how many files are being deleted, how much space that's going to save, and it gives you the option to merge that metadata into the files you're keeping. So it's going to have that checked by default. You can uncheck it, but I recommend leaving that on and then say delete files. And that's going to go ahead and delete those images and free up that space in your library and clean up that clutter. So that is really, really super helpful. Let's go ahead and jump back over to the presentation here and talk about our next tool, which is Photo DeClutter. This helps you find similar images. And by that, I mean images that were taken in really close succession to each other. And typically this is going to be burst mode photos. In my own library, this is going to be pictures typically of people or of people doing sports, some sort of maybe motorsports or surfing or something with action in it, where I'm sitting there and I'm holding down that shutter button on my phone or on my camera and getting a series of images all within a certain time frame that are very, very similar. Now, not all of those images are very good. There might be one or two in that set that's really awesome, and the rest are kind of blah. And those are just taking up space on my hard drives. They are extra stuff I have to scroll through to find what I want. And a lot of times they can just be cleaned out and gotten rid of. So what this tool does is it helps you clean up those burst mode photos. It matches the aspect ratio. So whether it's a portrait or a landscape orientation, it'll match what camera it was taken with and the time frame. And you can choose the time frame you want to go over. We'll go over that here in a second. It also uses AI with their auto mark tool to help find things that are blurry, where eyes are closed, things are under or overexposed, and so forth. So let's jump into the application and take a look at Photo DeClutter. So I'm going to go here again to the tools, and we're going to choose Photo DeClutter. And I'm going to go ahead and clear out those filters I had originally applied. And I want to find a specific folder here to work with because, again, it's pulling up a lot of images here that I don't want to go through that many all at once. So I'm going to go down here to Photos. And in 2024, I went to the beach and I took pictures of some surfers. So that was, let's see here, this was wind and sea. So let's go ahead and pin that. And I have a lot of images here that are all very similar. So when I'm photographing something like surfing, I'm taking a lot of images. I see a surfer catch the wave and I start just holding down that shutter because there's going to be some action there and I want to get that exact moment. I don't want to just wait and click because chances are I'm going to miss it. So I have a lot of images that are kind of and one or two in that set that might be really, really good. So by narrowing this down to a specific folder, I now have 1,075 files that I'm looking at and 72 sets. And up here along the top, this is where we're matching the aspect ratio, matching the camera. So it's all coming from the same camera. And then it's also giving us that option within a time frame. By default, it's set to 2 seconds, which for a lot of people is good. For me, I typically like to move this up to about 5 or 6 seconds. You don't have to be super precise, but that gives me a better grouping depending on how long I'm holding down that shutter. And now you can see that I've got here's a group of 3, here's a group of 7. And when we get down here further to where I'm actually photographing people catching waves, you can see these are some pretty big groups of images to go through that are very, very similar. So I'm going to actually, let me bring that number back down a little bit. Make those groupings a little bit smaller. There we go. And let's go ahead and make some choices here. So let's go ahead and start with this one here at the top that only had 3 images. Again, you can go ahead and click on one of these and you can see the similarities between these images. Another thing I want to do here, let me go ahead and go back, is I want to filter this to only show me images that I haven't already targeted as being really good. So within this group of images, I've already done some editing, I've done some rating and flagging and so forth. So what I want to do is go up here to the top and by rating, label, and flag, anything that has a pick flag, I want to exclude that. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my pick flag, right click on this up here at the top and say exclude. So all of those will now be hidden. The same with my 4 and 5-star images. I don't want to see any of these that I've already gone through and rated and said, I really like these. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on that, exclude, right click and exclude. And now you can see that's dropped that number a little bit and made these sets a little bit smaller. So let's take a look at this first one. We have 2 images here. They're very, very similar. You can see there's just a slight change in the water. And really, I don't need both of these. They're both very similar. So we can go ahead and just say, we're going to take that one. We'll mark that one to get rid of. Now it jumps you to the next set. And we can go ahead and go through this set of images. And again, we're going to see very minimal changes between these images. And you can go through and choose which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to get rid of. So declutter is a little bit more of a manual process, but there are some tools here to help you speed it up. If you go down here to auto mark, this also lets you find things that are blurry. If you're photographing people, you can find things that have eyes closed. If you're doing portraits and you want to make sure everybody's smiling, you can go ahead and check that. It also will look for things that are underexposed, overexposed, and if you've already gone through and done any rating and tagging, find anything that's already marked as a reject or a low rating 1 or 2 stars. So let's go ahead and run auto mark. And then just one thing to note here is all of these are based on the AI smart tags inside of Mylio Photos. And you can adjust the sensitivity here. So I can click on this little gear and say, I want to have more matches or I want it to be more accurate. So we can go ahead and move that down and say apply, and that's going to change how that AI is applied. So now we say run auto mark, and that's going to go through and start marking some images for me. And it's pretty conservative in what it marks. So it's not going to mark a lot, and especially with modern cameras, most of them are coming through pretty sharp and have good detail. So it did mark a few here, and that's helpful. That gets me started. Let's go down and see if we can find another batch here. So this batch here with only 11 images only. Let's go ahead and look at this one. So it did already mark a couple to get rid of, and I want to go ahead and click into that and take a look at what we have here. And I mean, these are kind of fun. There's some good action happening here. The images are pretty sharp. What I'm looking for when I'm photographing a surfer is I like to be able to see their faces if possible. I might be able to lighten this up and see the face. I like when I get that backlit wave, and I like when they're doing something interesting with their body, like they've got a good hand, their hands are doing something good, a good gesture. They're holding their balance. Some of these are going to be more interesting than others. I would say that one's probably not terribly interesting. I'm going to go ahead and mark that one to get rid of. And you can go ahead. This one, really not that interesting. This one's pretty good. I think that he's got kind of an interesting body shape right there. I'll keep that one. This one, body shape is good, but it's, a little bit too far out, and I don't think there's really anything very interesting happening with the wave. That might be one to get rid of as well. This one's definitely better. I mean, look at that little curve right there and the wave going over. That's a much more interesting shot. So that's how I go through and I decide which ones are worth keeping and which ones are are not worth keeping. So you can go through and choose, and then again, when you're ready, go ahead and click back here, and then you can choose to delete them or move them outside of your library. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now because I still want to go and pay a little bit closer attention to these images, but that gives you an idea of how Photo DeClutter works, how you can use some of those quick filters in there, and adjust the AI sensitivity on what it picks up. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of there, and we're going to jump back over to the presentation, and we're going to talk next about the cleanup quick collections. So these are really, really handy, and I think a lot of people don't even realize they're there. Quick collections are a grouping of quick filters that you can save and come back to over and over. And to make things easier for you, Mylio has actually pre-saved a few of these in there for you, so you can just go to them, check them out. And the ones we have that we're going to talk about today are the camera cleanup, need to organize, review for cleanup, and screenshot cleanup. So let's go ahead and jump back over here into the app. And I'm going to go here to my all photos. And let's just go ahead and jump to the top of the page here. Right now I've got my quick filters open, and I could go in and start finding things. Like if I wanted to find all of my rejects, I could say, show me all my rejected images. That's one way to find those. But there's some other tools here that might be useful, and those are up here under the quick collection. So this little icon right here, we're going to click on that. And some of what you're seeing here are quick collections that I created, and some of them are pre-built into Mylio. So for instance, we have camera cleanup. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and that's going to help me find all of the pictures where there are eyes closed and the images are blurry. So those are really good candidates to flip through and decide which ones are worth keeping and possibly worth getting rid of. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. We also have need to organize. This is going to show you everything from the last 90 days that you have not yet rated or flagged. And that's just, again, it's a great reminder to go through it periodically and sort through your media so you can go ahead and keep your library maintained, not just get it up to a certain point and then forget about it. So this is a really good tool. So if you have a day of the week or a day of the month that you set aside for photo organizing, this is an excellent tool to integrate into that process. All right, so we have the need to organize. Then we have here review for cleanup. So once you've gone through and you've done some rating and flagging, you might have things that you marked as rejects, or you mark them with a 1 to 2 star. So this is everything that falls into that category, and you can see I've actually got quite a ton of images here that fall into that category. Now, I do like to go through and make sure that there are things I want to get rid of, but I can say click on this one, and they are grayed out because I have marked them as rejects. If you want to temporarily unmark them, you can see what that is. It's a picture of the ground, probably took that shot by accident, which is why I marked it as a reject. And we can go to the next one, turn that on, very, very blurry, probably took that by accident. This one here of my mom, let's turn that back on, unfortunately blurry, and I do have one that's sharp, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark that as a reject. And there's another one. This one, I didn't get a very great picture of this girl at her quinceañera, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark that, and so forth. So you can take a look at what you've marked as rejects, and then once you're ready, you can grab those images. So I'm gonna just select that first range there, and I'm gonna click delete on my keyboard, or you could do a Command or Control A to select all, and then choose delete from your devices. And that just takes you one more step further and cleans up unnecessary stuff that you might be holding on to. The last one I wanna show you today is the screenshot cleanup. So I don't know about you, but on my phone, I inadvertently take screenshots all the time. And there's a couple here that I can see just right now, right here and right here. A couple of things here that I don't need. So this brings together all of the screenshots off your phone. So you can see that it brings up all your pictures from Apple Photos that are screenshots. And that's typically limiting things that are PNG files, which is the format that most screenshots are saved in. So what you can do is, if you want to just get rid of all of them, again, you can do a Command or Control A and then delete, or you can kind of just pick through here and go, you know what, I don't need any of those. And again, click delete on your keyboard, or click the little trash can over here and say, yes, delete from all devices. And that just gets, again, some of those things cleaned up that you don't need to hang on to. And I love these little quick collections. You can set up your own. So if there's certain things that you want to go through and sort through, you can absolutely do that. So for instance, things from my big camera that I need to add GPS information to, I created a quick collection for that. Or things that I want to add my copyright to, I created a quick collection for that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use these to help keep things sorted and organized. All right, let me go ahead and clear those out. I think that was everything that I wanted to cover for the cleanup tools today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas of tools that you maybe hadn't touched on or hadn't used in a while, and how you can put them to work in your own library. I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor now for questions, and we'll take a look here at the chat and see what you guys have been saying. So let me see here. All right, one moment. All right, Carol says, I know I have many dupes and similar files, and when I go to all photos, it says no duplicates found. So Carol, one thing to understand is that Mylio is looking for exact duplicates. It's not gonna find things that are, they look like the same picture, but they're different file types or they're different file sizes. Mylio is only gonna find things that are duplicates that are actually exact duplicates. Now there are some tools out there that do find those kind of similar files in that regard. Photo Sweeper is one that I've heard good things about. I haven't personally used it, but when you find things that are similar but not exactly the same, you do have to manually go in and delete those. Carol says she can't get sound today at work this morning. So sorry you're having trouble with the sound. Hopefully everybody else can hear me. Looks like Lori was working with you at that. All right, take a look here. And let's see, Carol says, how do you customize the items in Declutter? Carol, do you want to unmute and let me know a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish there? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Well, you had some things that are, and it didn't come with Mylio. And so you had some other, I'm sorry, my voice is like crazy.
That's all right.
And so I was wondering how you add other things you want to look for.
Oh, so you mean up here in like the quick collections?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So what I would do, let's say here, let me find one here that I created for myself. So I want to do my Canon R6 needs GPS. So what I did was I used the quick filters down here to find all my pictures with my Canon and things that did not have GPS information, which is a special custom search that I put in. So what you would do if I wanted to build this from scratch is I would go down here by camera and lens. Oops, not visual property, camera and lens. And we'll go by camera. We'll go down to Canon and I'll find my R6. So I'll go ahead and click that. And then what I can do from there is if I want to find everything that is not tagged by GPS, like I said, that is a custom filter you can put in here. So I go down here by custom and here it is, GPS tagged no. So you would take this text here, GPS tagged semicolon no. You would type it in right here and then that's going to go ahead and apply it. And it gets saved here if you've used it before. So now I have both of these up here and they're blue. So when you pin them, they become blue. That's what you want. To save this, to come back to it over and over, what you do is go up here to Quick Collections and you say Save as New Quick Collection. And that lets you pick a name and then it'll add it to your list and you can come back to it over and over. Very, very handy. And it doesn't have to be necessarily for cleanup. This can be, you can kind of treat these as smart albums as well. So you want to find everything in the travel category for 2024. Or you want to find everything in the family history category for 1950. You can do so many different things with these quick collections.
So when you go to buy custom, can you add something that doesn't show up in the download part after you open it up?
So when you do buy custom down here, there are certain search parameters that you can use in Mylio Photos, and you can use these search parameters in dynamic search. And you can use them to create custom filters. We do have those listed in our manual. So if you go here to help and to how-to guide, that's going to pop up the Mylio Photos manual. And if you go down to the appendix at the very bottom, we have a section here for custom search and filter expressions. And you can build out custom searches for different things that aren't necessarily listed specifically as a quick filter. So you can make some really cool things. And here's just like a list of options. This isn't necessarily everything. If you're looking for something else and you don't find it here, you can always, message us in the community and we'll see if we can find a search for that. Sometimes our engineers know of things that I don't know about and I just ask them, how do you find this thing? And they tell me this crazy search string and it works. But these are the ones that people mostly use. Like you can put in your camera make, your camera model, but those are also included over here in the by camera and lens quick filters that are already built in. So it's just additional ways of things that don't exist in these drop downs here. A lot of times you can add them as a custom. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, are there any other questions today? All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I do want to remind you that we have a lot of ongoing events for you. I think our last one of the week will be this afternoon at 3 p.m. with Lori. So make sure you jump into that if you are a new user with Mylio and you want to kind of get up to speed. Check that out. And then next week, we'll have lots of great stuff for you. If you think of more questions that you want to ask, feel free to either message us in the community or jump into one of those live Q&As, and we'll have another coffee break topic for you next week. So with that, I want to thank you guys for being here. This has been a fun session, and I hope it's been useful to you and given you some ideas of how you can declutter your own library. Have a wonderful rest of the day, a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.